forgot. So today my goal is to go through an overview of the vision of the program and get some feedback on that from you as well. I'm always open to feedback. I'm very excited about the possibility of this program. This is something I'm looked forward to being able to do and have always looked for opportunities where we could increase the capacity of our school counseling program. So this is an incredible opportunity to be able to do that and to be able to do it in a thoughtful way, I believe. So we're going to talk about the goals of the program, why we're looking at doing this program in this way, and some of the training that will be involved, what the commitment is, and some of the next steps. And I'd like to save like a good chunk of time for questions and answers. And please feel free, like as I'm going through, we don't have to wait for questions and answers to the very end. So if I'm talking about something and you have a question about it, please either put it in the chat or unmute and let me know that you have a question so that I might be able to answer it. And if I don't have an answer, which is possible, then I will work on figuring it out and getting back to all of you with the answer. So thank you for sharing where you are coming from. I see a variety of folks in different roles, in different school departments. So I'm very excited about that. So over the summer, RIDE was proposing this grant, and basically we're trying to think like how could we enhance school counseling, and so and tie it into the ACN and the dual enrollment, and are making sure that kids are knowing all their options and their pathways. So what we kind of came up with was the idea of embedding a new school counselor within high school programs so that the school counseling department itself would have more capacity, with the goal that would be just a new counselor within that department. And so the ratio would then decrease. They'd have more time to work with their students. They'd have, be able to focus more on their individual students. The other piece was to stop and think about the program that you have, to look at your data that you have, and decide what are the things we need to do to support our students based on the data. And a great way to do that is to use the ASCA national model. And ASCA has actually a 2-year training that is normally done with districts, but we wrote it in as part of the grant to have this training provided to districts that were involved, with the goal that it actually wouldn't just be so for example, Louise, I see you're on here. So that's my school, my district that I come from. So I'm going to use North Providence as the example. If North Providence had an embedded high school counselor there from the PrepareRI program, it wouldn't just be their high school that would be trained as part of the ASCA training. Their middle school counselors would also be trained. So everybody would be working together to develop their comprehensive school counseling program 6 through 12, with the goal that we're transitioning our students from middle school to high school and helping to support them in thinking about their different pathways. So to me, that's very exciting that we're thinking about it in with a bigger picture. And so the training will support feeder schools, and depending on how big the district is, would depend on how many of the middle school counseling departments we could have. But we do have the capacity to have for the whole program, up to 89 counselors. So I think we will be able to get a vast majority of both middle school and high school departments involved. And then we wanted to look at this as a 3-year commitment. So if you looked at the overview, the goal was to have the first part of our training be the first part of the program be 100% funded. So the first year, second year 50% funded, third year 30% funded. However, we are looking at the fact that we are going to be um, we're going to be starting really in January. So because we're starting in January, we're going to look at how we can be flexible to make sure that difference in the funding actually works its way into the second year, so that you will end up with more funding in that second year than we had initially said if you're looking at full years, since it will be January, because obviously having this happen before January would be very challenging. So the overall goals of the program are to increase students' equitable access to effective comprehensive counseling programs, so that all students are getting access to their counselors, getting guidance around their pathways and their individual learning plan, and thinking about, you know, where they want to go, what kinds of programs are a good fit for them, and increasing the percentage of students accessing the Diploma Plus credentials, so, and courses. So that would be like the CTE credentials or AP completions or dual enrollment. Those are the pieces that fit in that. And that's what you see in that post-secondary success index. That's what shows up in that, which ties into some of those accountability measures. And so helping to think about programs that will help support kids in making choices to get them into those courses. It has been shown that the more students are involved in college course level courses, that the more successful they are in going on to post-secondary. So, you know, it makes sense to be looking at that as something we want to do. The other goals of the program of your department would depend on your department and what fits in your school, and what the counselors and administrators feel is the need based on looking at your own data. Any questions before I move on from where I'm at right now? Okay. So why are we looking at comprehensive school counseling? Like, why is this important? You know, studies have shown consistently that lower ratios can result in more first generation students attending college, increased attendance, and increased SAT scores. So having a proactive, well thought out comprehensive program with positive school counselor ratios, focusing on the program that is developed, can really help have those goals and outcomes that you're always looking for your students. It helps connect students to their individual learning plan and support them on their chosen path. So it helps ensure those pieces are happening for all kids. You know, especially, you know, some students might have more support at home than others. We want to make sure that all kids are getting the information and that all families are getting the information. So I just have referenced a few of the different research pieces that have been done through ASCA, the American School Counselor Association. Just if you're interested, I will share this slide deck and you can take a look at it to find out a little bit more, but basically showing that schools that have gone through the process of creating a comprehensive school counseling program, to be able and to apply for RAMP, which is an ASCA credential, um, are more successful at supporting students around the SAT, around their graduation rates. And so if a school is a RAMP school, it means that they have a fully fleshed out comprehensive school counseling program. And then the impact of school counselor to student ratios on student outcomes, that students have scored better on standardized testing. You see it in attendance, you see it with student engagement. So there's a lot of pieces that can be positively impacted by students being part of a comprehensive school counseling program and smaller school counselor student ratios. So the ASCA training, this is just a little bit about what is involved with that. And what we're thinking is that we'd like to give some time for school counselors to get acclimated to their new department and the department to all kind of start to work together. So we're thinking of actually the ASCA training starting perhaps in August of 2021. So if we are hiring counselors for January of 2021, that would give that second semester for the department to kind of work together on how they want to divide up their caseload, how they see things working. It will give them time to start to maybe look at some of the data, or at least collect some of the data to be able to look at it. And we'll offer some ride specific trainings during that time, just so that you would know a little bit about more about, like, for example, ACN network or dual enrollment, just to make sure everybody's familiar with that. But the training would actually start in August so that you have some time to get everybody up to speed. But this is a little bit about it. Anne-Marie, did you have a question?
I did. I was just typing it in the chat because I didn't want to interrupt. I'm just questioning the timeline. Is it going to be harder to hire counselors in January, since people aren't going to leave a job that they're in for something that's new in the middle of a school year? So you might not have as many people that are available to apply.
I mean, that's certainly a concern. There could also be, my hope is that, from what I've heard, there were some folks who maybe, districts didn't, like, got rid of some positions. So we might have some counselors out there who are actually looking for positions. And also we might have some PC students who are completing mid-year. So I know, like, some people end up like finishing at like a different time. I think we're going to have to see where we're at and take it from there. The goal, because this grant was funded through the Corona Relief Fund, like it was a grant from the federal government connected to the coronavirus. So getting it up and kind of moving right away is, like, the goal is to support students now. But of course, we can't do it like immediately because we need a little bit of a runway. So the goal is to try to get counselors hired by January, and then we'll just have to see what we end up with at that point. Yeah, ideally, yes, I would have loved it to be September. That would have made everything a little bit easier, but because of where the funding's coming from, we would have to try to push it for, like, as soon as possible. And so, like I said, I don't think it's feasible until January, just because we need a little bit of time to get ramped up, but we'll have to see where we end up at that point. But certainly we won't know until we're doing it. And so the ASCA training is they walk you through, it's 6 trainings, and if it's virtual, we'll probably split that into smaller chunks. So usually it's 6 full day in-person trainings from someone at ASCA. But if we're all still virtual, again, we'll probably break that into, like, maybe 2-3 hour. We'll adjust that, just because I think that is, that's just way too long virtually. And so what they do is walk you through the process of evaluating your program, looking at your data, creating goals, and then you can submit your goals and get feedback from them based on the national model. And they work to help you set the goals in a way so that you can measure the outcomes and offer a lot of training around those pieces. And the outline of the training is here. And actually, I can pull it up just quickly so that you can see it, but you can always link to it. Let's see if it's gonna, here we go. So you can see they do a survey at first to kind of see where everybody's at. And then they'll do some overview of the national model, and then they'll give like an assignment before the next training. So to, evaluate your school data and develop 3 goals for your school counseling program. One of them will be around that dual enrollment, the AP and dual enrollment and CTE certifications. The other 2 will be whatever the district feels needs to happen. And then identify the baseline data that will be used as part of the action plan. And so each time we'll kind of work through the whole process. So by the end of the 2 years will be, the documentation and the plan for your programming. Anyone have any questions about that? So the training in the spring will be focused on more of the ride programs that are available. And so there won't be as many trainings, and they'll be shorter, hour, just with different individuals, probably from the Office of College and Career Readiness, who can share information that will be useful for you to know to help support your students. And that will be some time to just start to look at like where the data is, what data you want to pull, and we'll work a little bit on that to help support you with that, with where you can get some of the data that you might want to be looking at. For example, if you need your post-secondary success index, we'll help you with where to look at that so that you have the baseline data for that information. Excuse me. So it's a 3-year commitment, and part of that is the training for the school counseling department, with the goal that the whole department at the high school, in addition, hopefully the middle school, will be involved as well. So I think everybody will get more out of it doing it that way. And really reimagining your school counseling program to support a personalized student experience, and to make sure that the school counselors have access to the data that they need. So those are the main commitments. So really the next big steps for anybody that is interested is to complete the interest survey if you haven't done so. It's really quick and easy. I tried to make it as simple as possible. And that just asks some questions about like, what are the priority areas you think that you'd want to address? Why do you think it would be, good for you to be part of this program? And then our goal is really to kind of start to move things forward November 20th to kind of have our assurance of commitment signed with districts that will be involved, and to have positions posted by December, with the goal of having people hired in January. And I know that is a very ambitious timeline, but that's what we're going for, because the goal is really to get the counselors in the building to be able to help support kids now. So that's really the goal, so that we can get things moving along. Anyone have any questions about that? And I'm going to copy this and I will put this in the chat. That is the interest survey, if you haven't seen that yet. No questions? Okay. Any questions overall? Okay, Rob
Anna,
said yes. Go ahead.
hi, Rob Mezzanotte from Lincoln High School. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. I just put this in the chat, but would districts be responsible for funding the new positions?
Yeah, so what would happen is, and I'll show you on this because this kind of, so the first year is 100% ride funded. Second year is 50%. However, it's actually going to be more funding the second year because we're starting in January. So your fiscal and my fiscal would have killed me if I had tried to do it like January to December. So what we have to do is January to June and then do the next full year. So what we will look at flexibly with every district is, say you hire someone the first year, which would be January to June, that's 100% funded, but you really only getting a half year. We've planned, budgeted for the full year. So if, let's just, for example, say they're getting, with their benefits and their salary, it's $60,000. So 100% that first year, but we're only end up paying 30,000. That means 30,000 credit basically goes into the second year. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like, it's not just 50% the next year. So if the next year ended up being, let's say 62,000 with steps and all of that, 50% would be 31,000, but you have the $30,000 credit. So it would actually be 61,000. The third
the
year
credit comes from the previous year being not a full year?
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's how we're going to work that. The third year is what it says, 30%, because we won't have any extra left over. So the ride will pay 30% and the district will pay 70% in that third year. So the first 2 years are that first January to June, and the next full year are going to be, you will get more funding for that second year than the 50%. It's really going to be close to, it will probably be like 98 point something percent the second year, really, because of how we're starting.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Yeah, that was the way we kind of figured out to do it flexibly without messing with the fiscal year. And Anne-Marie said, I'm assuming there needs to be some sort of contract commitment signed, but yes. Yeah, so that's that assurance of commitment that we will have, that once districts say that they're interested, and then internally we'll go through the process of everybody that has done that, looking at the priority areas that were kind of outlined in the, and let me go back here. So these priority areas, and looking at each submission, then once we get to the 10 high schools, so it could be like there could be a couple of high schools in one district, or 10 different districts, but 10 high schools, then those superintendents would sign the assurance. Correct. Any other questions? Okay. So if you have any questions that come up that you think of afterwards, please give me a call or email me. Any feedback on the vision of what we're thinking? Like, is there anything you'd like to see that I haven't mentioned, or something you think that's needed that's, that I'm not thinking of as part of this program? Okay. Well, I am excited to see who might be interested in being part of it. I look forward to working with everybody, and I think that it is an exciting prospect for adding capacity to our high school counseling teams. I know many of them could use the additional capacity, and feel free to email me If you think of something afterwards, I will post the recording of this on the PrepareRI School Counseling Core page, which lives on the School Counseling Ride page. And I have posted the survey link here, and I'll post it again in case anybody came in after. Any other questions? I have no need to keep everybody because you're all very busy. So if there's no more questions, then I will leave it at that. Okay. All right. Thank you for joining, and I hope to be working with you all soon. Have a great afternoon. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. You're welcome.